Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Trades Talk. I'm super excited for our guest today. We have Anna Halstead with Halstead Media in the studio. Anna, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm pumped to talk with you today, Justin.
Yeah, well, we're super excited. We just started working with Halstead, and after meeting Corey and talking to your team, I was like, I need to get someone from Halstead on here. And Corey introduced me to you, and here we are. And I'm just super excited to dive into the whole story.
Cool. Okay. Well, there's so much to talk about. Yeah.
So let's start here. For
Okay.
for the listeners, let's just set the table. Who is Halstead Media? What do you guys do? Who do you guys serve? Let's just start there.
All right. Well, um, so first of all, I run Halstead with Corey. You mentioned my husband, and we've been running it for a little over 12 years. So we're a digital marketing agency. We specialize in the landscape industry. And to be like a niche within a niche, we focus specifically on the top landscape companies, which happens to shape up to be about maybe 6 to 7% of the landscape industry. And in a nutshell, what do we do? So we design and implement growth marketing systems that includes sales, tech, integration, marketing enablement, and all of this is aligned to our clients' growth goals, their legacy goals, and everything they're trying to achieve in their business.
That is fantastic. I love how you said growth marketing systems
Yes.
because we actually renamed our sales and marketing division. We call it the growth division now.
Oh, love that. Yeah.
And I can't take too much credit for that. That was Tony's idea, and Tony's our director of growth,
Good
our
job, Tony.
DOG, and we love him. But I just love this idea of growing companies. And in today's world of acquisitions and buy and
Yeah.
consolidation, like the organic growth story is such an exciting story to tell. So I love that that's like your guys' mission in this industry.
Yeah, we love it. We've always been very passionate about making such an impact to our clients. And it helps too, right? Because for our people for our teams to recognize the connection and the impact that they make on so many different lives. Because it's the business owners, but of course it's all of the people they employ as well. And it is about growth. It's about and for some of our clients, maybe it's not necessarily growth in revenue, although it is for quite a large portion. But sometimes it's growing in the next stage of their business because they're shifting focuses, like maybe more in maintenance. Maybe they're shifting focus, maybe expanding to different areas. But it's growing, it's evolving their business, and that is a very exciting work. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's really our our point in time where we reached out and decided we wanted an external partner for our growth because it was a new region we were opening up into. And we have
Mhm.
a bunch of regions that we've got on the 18 to 36 month schedule that we want to open up in Greenfield. And we knew we needed some expertise to help us really push hard into these regions. So that was our kind of like catalyst for finding
Mhm.
and partnering with you guys. So we're super excited for that. And hey, maybe in like a year we can come back on and tell the success story of all these regions we opened and everything.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Yeah. And also like for your company, right? Like for you, it has grown so much in terms of your own growth goals and how much you've evolved and in your plans for the next couple of years. Yeah, there's so many exciting things there to share and talk about. Maybe we'll talk about that today too.
I think we'll get to a lot.
Like,
So with that
okay.
in mind, let's dive in and
Okay.
talking and prepping for the podcast, we kind of talked a little bit about, the foundation that is created in the early part of our lives. And so I want to go all the way back to the very beginning when you were a kid and your childhood and early career and just kind of walk us through some of those like big moments in your life that really shaped your foundation and who you are as a person.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess, so where do we start? Well, first of all, I guess for a lot of us in running businesses and running companies, right? For your audience, for you, myself, so much of what we do today is shaped up because of experiences we had as a child, decisions we made, and that's part of how we show up today as owners, as operators, as who we are for our families. So to, I guess, touch base on things that really impacted, I think, there's so many other things, but just to highlight, um, starting way back, I immigrated from Belarus to the Bronx when I was about 5, and
Wow.
my family. I know, crazy, but it was my grandmother, my mother, and my brother and myself. That's it. So just us. And we came without any money. And I remember standing in line at the bottle return, begging my grandmother for a Jolly Rancher. You know those Jolly Ranchers that wouldn't fit in your mouth and then you couldn't talk for like 30 minutes? Those were
Yeah, the
like,
big giant ones.
yeah, the big giant rectangular ones. I mean, what a weird design. But anyway, they were like, they, to me, still to this day, the best candy ever. But when I got to have one, it was a really big deal. I mean, they were like 5 cents at the time, but they were a very big deal. Like when we were able to, I'll call it splurge on things like that. So there was a lot of different moments in life like that that I was experiencing at that age, and in so much of like survival mode, right? Step by step, and like being excited about the small wins. But that's kind of how it started. But I think too, other than the Jolly Rancher, I think some really pivotal moments for me. Um, I'll share this one with you. My grandmother, she didn't speak English, and my mother was always working, right? Like she's trying to make a better life for us. She's always working. Her degree didn't transfer, so she went back to school. So
Wow.
sometimes I would go to work with my grandmother. She'd clean homes, she'd help with some elderly folks. And then there's this one particular family. There's a few, but there's one particular family that stands out. And I went with my grandmother, and I remember walking into this woman's kitchen, and she had like 5, maybe 6 boxes of cereal. And cereal wasn't an option for me. Based on our
Yeah.
budget, we did not buy cereal. It was not a basic that met the criteria. So not only did she have like 5 or 6, but she also had them organized in these beautiful clear boxes. And such a weird memory. Like, why would anybody care, right? I did. To me, as like a 6, 7 year old. I mean, what does
Yeah.
a 7 year old care more about than like snacks and cereal, right? And I was so amazed. So um, this woman had a child that was like similarly aged to mine. Maybe she was like a year or two younger. And so something happened, and this woman really liked me, and she kept me around. So she invited me over. I spent a ton of time with her daughter, and I was so inspired by this family. And this one interesting moment, she brought me to work with her one day, and it turned out that her and her husband owned an import business in Queens.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, look at this woman. She's running the show here with her husband. They're making this money. They're doing so good for their family. I was like, this can be me. I mean, I know we can't afford cereal right now, but this can be me, and it will be me one day. I will do this. And so I started watching her and really looking at me. Like, I know it's weird, like a 7 year old to look at it this way, but it was then that I
Yeah.
realized, like, I need to learn what she's doing. How is she doing this? Because this is going to be me in whatever amount of 10, 20, 30 years. So I'm going to be here.
That's amazing that you had that foresight at the time. And I can totally relate to this working for my dad in the landscape industry. And he would always like, we would go and maintain these really nice houses. And I remember like going through the gate and
Oh,
pulling up, and we would get like, they'd bring me out lemonade or snacks. And I would always think like, man, wouldn't it be nice? And I
yeah.
always had that, and my dad would always say like, "Oh yeah, this is how the other half lives." And like this isn't
Mm,
for us. And it not like intentional. It was just that was just how it was, you know? And
yeah.
it's an interesting place as a kid to be like no limits, right? I can be an astronaut, I can be a fireman, I can be anything. And so when you see
Mhm.
that, it's not like, "Oh my gosh, like that's amazing they live that way." It's, "Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna
Yeah.
create this for my life, for my children." That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Like Walt Disney, what did he say? He said, in order to see it, you have to believe it.
I've
I might
really
have messed up the phrase, but it goes something like that. And I've always believed that. That was, that was definitely my mindset. Still is today. Like in order for something to happen, you have to believe and say it will happen. That's the first step.
absolutely. It's
Yeah.
so consistent with entrepreneurs and people who do amazing things and impact the world. They have this unrealistic belief in their ability to impact the
Mhm.
world and impact the people around them. And
Mhm.
that if there's a message to anyone out there listening, it's that. It's like,
Yeah.
don't put a cap or ceiling on what you can accomplish just because of the way that you were raised or the history that you've created to this moment today.
Yeah. Yeah, you can shape it. And I guess that is like when we talk about how does that show up today, other than that mindset, I think it's intention. I think it's living with intention, right? And it doesn't mean that you always have to like be so intentional about every moment of every day, but you do have to be, you have to show up and you have to be present in the decisions that are happening, that are going to happen in your life. Like, where are you going to live? What are you going to do for a living? How are you going to do in this quarter in this business? What are you going to do today, right? Like this week, and showing up with intention, having some kind of vision in life instead of it just kind of like taking you and you in it for the ride.
Yeah, yeah. Like allowing some level of freedom and flexibility, but also having a North Star that you're heading towards. So you're not
Yeah.
just floating. So let's go back
Yeah.
to that. So you're spending time, you're creating this like really early vision for your life of what you want it to look
Mhm.
like. What kind of transpires going into the teenage years and all that? Take us through kind of your growing up.
Well, so my mother working so much, I'm kind of like left to take ownership of my decisions every day. Kind of like, what am
Yeah.
I? What's important to me, and without regret, because I love what happened to me because it shaped me, but maybe a little bit too much. Children shouldn't have so much ownership, but like immigrant family, right? You got to work. So there was a lot of ownership on my end, and so as I was growing up, learning different things, kind of shaping my own life at like such a young age, I decided. Here's the fun little crazy thing. I decided in ninth grade that I was going to make more money if I dropped out of high school and worked full time than continued in high school. I was just like, I can go get a full time job and just
Yeah.
make money right now. Why am I going to stay? I don't recommend this path, but that was what my thought process was. So I went and got a full time job and I dropped out of high school. I mean, later I got my bachelor's degree and I graduated and I went on to have I guess an atypical life for somebody that is dropping out of high school. But I got a full time job and I was making money. And then I was 17 and had a baby, right?
Wow.
But you're dropping out of high school. I mean, like what's going to happen there? But I was making money, so I was rationalizing it to being a good decision, taking ownership in my decisions, and I think that was probably my most pivotal point in my life because here I am, I'm like way too young to have a kid, and I'm realizing like, oh no, hold on, I think I lost ownership. I think I lost intention. This is no regret. I love that it happened, and it was the greatest thing ever. But it was such an important thing too, greatest and important. And I realized, all right, I have to take control back. I have
Yeah.
to I have to change the path. I have to pivot, which is like so important when you're on a track somewhere and you think it's well, and then you have realized that it's not. And I have to pivot. And now I have to be responsible for my child and myself. So now I have to show up financially, but also as a role model, right? Like
Yeah.
other people, another person is looking up to me now to see what decisions I'm going to make. And I think like speaking to me as somebody with my husband running the company today, I think what stayed with me today is that we don't always look at what is the most obvious path to go forward. Like,
Right.
let's look at all of the out of the box paths. And some of them are going to be potentially wrong and you have to pivot, but some of them are going to help achieve something that you otherwise wouldn't have achieved, right? And so I'm always looking at the options, whether they're unconventional or not, and always open to the idea, like you mentioned earlier, like you have to be intentional, you have to have a vision, but you also have to enjoy life and be fluid a little bit, right? And having that balance. So that was definitely a moment to kind of like refocus.
Can I and so I want to ask about that is like how did you have, and this is obviously in retrospect looking back, like how'd you have that self-awareness? Because I think that's a challenge for most people in the moment to know, hey, I need to make a pivot because of these things. Looking back on it, what do you think, where did that self-awareness come from at that point?
I think it came from when I was like 7, who said, I wanted to operate a business. I want to reach these goals. I want to live like this woman, and I want this life, and I wanted to make a difference. She had so many people in that building when she walked into that like warehouse and office building in Queens. I'll never forget it. So many people that knew her, that she was this was these were people that she was bringing money to for their households, right? Like a different way of
Yeah,
looking at employing people. And she was doing this with her husband. And so I knew that's what I wanted. So I guess my self-awareness was like, whoa, Anna. So this isn't aligned to what you said you were going to do. I know you were 7. But this isn't quite the path. That woman did graduate high school. And she did go to college. So let's get back to her path a little bit and focus on that. And I guess that's it, right? Like, I guess if you have your guiding principles, if you have your vision in place, your North Star, as you say, like that's it. That's going to bring you back.
that's amazing. Yeah, I really love that. That's very interesting. The story, it's similar. So I dropped out of high school, 2 months into my junior year.
Did you really?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm like
Oh my
listening to your story,
goodness.
like, how crazy is this? And look at both of
Yeah.
us, like
Yeah.
running businesses. So it
That's
goes
so
to
cool.
show, like, sometimes the unconventional path doesn't always mean, it's going to lead to failure. And that's what I
Yeah.
love telling people. And I love, love, love the story because your past doesn't determine your future. But so many people that are 22, 23
Mhm.
years old that don't have the credentials or didn't do these things count themselves out in life. And I was
Yeah.
one of them. I was 23 feeling like my life was over because I didn't do the things that all my friends did. And, all my friends are graduating college and they have all this stuff going. And I
Mhm.
felt very much behind and kind of gave up on life in a way. And I think when I look back to that, it's like the society norms that we all have been told to live by create this like really high level of anxiety that if you don't follow these norms, you're not going to be successful. So I just love this whole story because it shows like you immigrated here, you grew up in a household with a lot of a lot of self-direction, dropping
Yeah.
out of high school, becoming a young mother. So you're making this pivot. You're 17, brand new baby. What's the pivot? What are the next steps you take? You go to college, you get your degree. What does that look like?
Yeah, so I get my GED, which actually I got my GED before my previous classmates graduated high school. I only beat them by a few months, but come on, it matters a little bit. And then I went on to college, and I went to college at the same time, so it took several years to graduate. Balancing my schedule, being a mother, a college student, and a full-time employee. And so I went on to start my career in telco. And I started as a sales rep, and then I moved up into a director role at another company still in the telco industry, still working on my college degree, one class at a time, kind of semester thing, really slowly, but working on it, mostly remote. And so I was the last telco part of the career was I was managing a sales call center with over 150 people, a
Wow.
vendor, offshore team. When I took on the center, they didn't have any coaching standards, any training. Like you, day 2, you're hired, you're on the phone, kind of thing. There was no escalation or workforce or standards. So it was almost like you have to build it from scratch. It was a transformation, and the leaders got coaching, training, training on how to coach, like how do they manage people. So it was quite the undertaking. It was incredible. I learned so much from that experience. And then, of course, as all great corporate career stories go, you either retire, maybe, or you get laid off. And here I am. I got laid off,
Wow.
and not as pivotal as having a baby when you're 17, but close, but close. And so this was a
Yeah.
moment where I was like, oh my goodness, all my hard work, right? Like I built this career, I led this team, I have every metric in this call center, and still something happened. So effort and like this endless work doesn't always equal security. What does this mean? What do I want for me? And what does this mean? So um, the call center taught me that growth comes from systems because we implemented a ton of systems, processes, right? Like everything, training, whole brand new training system. It comes from systems and people, and then you end up growing and getting results. So then I realized after a few months, like, what do I want to do next in my career? And I sought out Accenture, and I was like, this is it. I want to work there. I want to impact multiple businesses. I want to
Yeah.
take what I learned that I know works, and I want to impact multiple companies. So I looked for people that worked at Accenture. I networked. I got in. I got the job, and I was able to work with some pretty cool companies like JP Morgan Chase and others. Do a bunch of stuff there, and then eventually that rolled into Halstead.
Wow. So let's start and talk about the Halstead journey, the process that you went through. So what was the catalyst that you decided, hey, we're going to start our own company here? How did that come about?
Ooh, well, so so Corey, my husband, he
Yeah.
grew up in the landscape industry. He,
Right.
like you were saying that you would go and see these houses, right, with your dad. The same thing with his uncle, and he was exposed to it at a very young age. He's very passionate about it. He's always talked about it with me um, from when we met. I didn't know anything about the landscape industry before I met him, and so he would always talk about it with me. And he had this endless hunger to do something different and better for the landscape industry. And when I say better and different, I mean, it just wasn't seen as a very like grown up industry, right? Like, I know that this, you mentioned before, like a tech backwards industry, but think
Yeah.
back to like 12 years ago, how backwards, right? How much more tech backwards it was. And how landscape, I mean, when we started Halstead, we were giving presentations on why a landscape company even needs a website when every
That's
other
crazy.
industry knew that already, right? Like this was just, there was so much change that needed to happen and the industry really needed to evolve. So he would always talk about it and he was so passionate about it. And then I had these ideas that I learned from my career. And so we kind of like understood both sides of it, his small business, his landscape industry knowledge and mine. And then one day we were like, so let's do something. Let's take action. Like you are so passionate about the landscape industry. I'm so passionate about impacting companies and businesses with growth systems, whatever those growth systems are, whether it's marketing or sales or tech enablement. Let's do it. And that's how it started.
That's so, and that I think I'm so glad we talked about your beginning and foundation because most people have that same thought at some point in their life and they don't take the action. That's like the missing last little ingredient. And I think a lot of what you did over your course of your life led you to the point of saying, let's do something. Let's actually take action and build this. So I just love that story because a lot of people are listening today, and I think they also have an idea. They want to impact others at a higher level, whether they want to grow their company, they want to start a new company, they want to do this, do that, and they are just struggling with that first step of taking action. So like if there's one piece of advice you could give to those who are thinking about an idea or they want to start this new venture, but they're just afraid or they're
Mhm.
nervous, what one piece of advice would you give looking back on that decision to start Halstead?
I think I'm gonna take a little bit about what we talked about already, you and I together. Actually, you got to have a North Star and you got to really want it. And your North Star is going to change in your life, right? Like once you achieve your first North Star, you're going to be like, I have a new one and a new one. And that's great. That's called drive and ambition. And that's called living life, right? Like that's good that your North Star either changes or you'll reach it and you get a new one. But if you have a North Star, if you have a vision, right? And that vision can be for your company, for your life. It can be for what your company is trying to achieve this quarter, this year, the next 10 years. Like if you have that and you really want to achieve it, then you have to have a plan. Like, what is your plan? And so write down your plan, write down the steps, and then it's going to feel like obvious, inevitable. Like, of course I have to do step one. Of course I have to do step two. Like that's just part of it. Like, otherwise I won't get to the last step, which is achieving the North Star, the vision.
I
Yeah.
love that.
And I'm curious. I didn't know you dropped out of high school too. How did you end up like going back to a different path? Like, what happened to you there?
Yeah. Oh, it's so interesting. I mean, so I grew up in this little California town called Santa Cruz. It's right on the ocean, little sort of skate town, and it's a super fun place to grow up, but it also has that surf style where like there's a lot of people who never really grow up, right? And there I
Mhm.
and there's nothing wrong with this, but it's like if the surf's good, like they're not going to work that day. And so like everything revolves around this idea of like, how do I stay in the water? How do I keep surfing? How do I pay for lunch and beers on Friday? And it's a really fun way to live. But what happens in a community and a culture like that is you end up with a lot of like short-term focused mindsets. And then that often leads to, unfortunately, a lot of drug use and addiction to alcohol and other things. And so, I ended up getting caught up with, kind of that crowd and really just thought about
Mhm.
everything as like, well, what party are we going to go to? Or how can we have some fun? Or, where are we going to get our next like $20 to buy a 30 pack or whatever it is? Like that was kind of the cycle we were in. And
Yeah.
then right around like 22, 23, the whole epidemic around the opiates like Oxycontin and then unfortunately heroin really came into our town. And that really
Mhm.
destroyed our community in so many ways. And I lost my first friend I lost was at 22 from a drug overdose. And that was a
Wow.
wake up call to all of us in our friend group. There's like 10 or 12 of us that we all hang out all the time. And then 2 or 3 years later, we lost a couple more people in that group. And over the last
Mhm.
10, 15 years, I've lost over 7 people that are like dear friends of mine to overdoses. And so like through that process, every person that we lose, there'd be 2 things that would happen in our friend group. Some people would go deeper down the spiral into more drug use and like deal with it through that. And then there's another subsector of just like a few of us who would say, dang, this is like not a good path and we need to
Yeah.
start looking at something different in life. And so I luckily had the landscape company that I was working for my dad's and mom's company, and I had to be up at 6 a.m. Monday through Friday or 5 a.m. That literally, I think, saved my life because when all my friends on Wednesday night were going out partying, I was like, sorry guys, it's 10 o'clock. I got to get out of here because I don't want to be hungover tomorrow and show up at work, and get a bunch of crap from the guys because I'm not moving fast. So I had enough of this desire to make money that because my parents weren't going to give me anything and
Good.
I had
Yeah.
to, work for it. So
Yeah.
through that process, I eventually found myself really falling in love with this idea of landscaping and building landscapes. And then in 2015, I was about 25 years old. My parents got divorced and the business was kind of in a bad spot and it was a bit up for
Mhm.
grabs. So I stepped in and started running it and asked to be the CEO and somehow convinced both my parents to like let me run it. And my mom ended up retiring out. My dad became my partner. My brother, my sister, my cousin got involved. And at that point, like it was a pivotal moment. I realized everybody that worked at that company was now depending on me to feed their families. And
Yeah.
that changed my mindset completely. And so I was able to kind of and I started making new friends inside of the entrepreneurial community. And I started, surrounding myself with people that were a little more on the up and up. And I got involved with a peer group. And so I kind of pulled away from my childhood friends in a way and started to really go into the entrepreneurial journey, which gave me everything I could have ever wanted. And then I created a North Star, like you said, which was we wanted
Mhm.
to grow to 30 million by 2030 and have 300 employees. So everything I'm thinking of is like, how do I show up better for my team? The next thing you know, 2020 comes around and we have 100 employees and like things are pretty serious and we built a really important business and I have a pretty big duty. So that was kind of my journey of going from this like really dark place and then coming out of it through the entrepreneurial journey. And we're still on that journey, right? We still have that North Star that's way out there that we're searching for, and we'll always be kind of searching for.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting thing to go through. It's the cycle.
Yeah, yeah. There's two things, there's so many things, but there's two things in particular that really resonated with me. The drug addiction. So my brother, who was 12 when we came here and straight to the Bronx, he didn't do so well. I mean, the part of the Bronx that we were total outcasts, total outcasts. As a 5-year-old,
Yeah.
you don't really see it or feel it. But as a 12-year-old boy who doesn't speak
Oof.
English, it was rough for him. He actually immediately became addicted to drugs, and
Yeah.
he was on heroin by the time he was 14.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, he had a very different path in life. He actually committed suicide when he was 30. So after that,
So
he
sorry.
had on and off periods where he struggled with addiction and then didn't, and then did. Heroin is one of those, like, once you go in, I guess it's very few come off of it successfully. But he tried, and it didn't work out for him. So seeing that, I know what you mean by, if you're in an environment where you see people like that, it can do either two things for you. Like, you can just go in with it and let it pull you in, or the opposite, right? Like, you're not going to sit in between for a very long time. Or you can use it as a motivator, like, whoa, that is such a terrible life. That is so awful. I want to be the opposite of this, right? Like, it can just totally push you in another direction. I'm so glad that that happened to you, like to me, where we were pushed in the opposite direction. And the other thing that you
Yeah.
said that really interested me, you were like, your parents told you you weren't getting any of the money. So,
Yeah.
so they were like, you have to figure out, because I feel the same, like with our kids today. I'm like, my money isn't your money. When you become
Yeah.
an adult, you have to figure out how to make your own money, because that's my money isn't yours. Like, I don't have to share it with you when you're an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta go and make your own money. And
Yeah.
it's like scary about that is like a lot of my friends, Santa Cruz is this weird affluent slash not affluent. You either have a ton of money or you don't have any money. And we were more of like not really having much money. We had enough to like go camping and do our once a year
Mhm.
vacation.
Yeah.
But a lot of my friends were like very affluent, and their parents had tons and tons of money, and they're like that was a wide open faucet for them. So there was never this need to go and make your own money because they had this idea that they're just going to always be rich. And I think that's a really dangerous place to operate from. So it's like it's great that you have that mindset. I think it's really important that kids today learn how to make their own money and don't just rely on their parents.
Yeah. Yeah. Like our 22-year-old, we were like, when she turned 14, we were like, you have to work. Now, you're not dropping out of school to work,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you do have to work, and you have to learn the lessons that work will teach you that you can't learn otherwise. So you have to learn, like, how to earn money and have your own goals. Yeah. It's such a powerful thing. That's great that you were able to get that inspiration from your friends and your surroundings. I'm happy to hear that story. That's great.
Yeah, it's well, it's a tough environment, and it sounds like your life that you've lived so far has definitely given you so many lessons and challenges along the way. And I really think that's a bit of a it's a bit of a requirement, I think, to go into business ownership, because we are faced with so many challenges that we can't always share with the team. And
No.
you can't like go to your team and be like, "Hey, we're dealing with this," or like, "Hey, payroll looks like we're gonna have to borrow money to make payroll this week." And
Yeah.
you go up and down through this journey of owning a business, and I think a lot of people feel alone and struggle in that journey. And if you are listening and you're feeling like that, just know that like there's others out there. We can be here for each other. But with that in mind, like going through the journey, I'm sure it wasn't always easy, and you like started a business, everything was successful. What were some of the roadblocks or challenges that you guys ran into as you started to get Halstead off the ground?
Yeah, well, I mean, some of the challenges you just said, which probably never go away, because, as you have more
Yeah.
responsibilities, obviously, right? More money. But I think some of the earlier challenges were, I mean, first of all, when it was just Corey and I, we were doing everything ourselves, right? When you start a company, you're doing everything yourself. Your employees are you. And somehow, I read this somewhere, or Corey read it and he shared it with me, that like when an owner tries to replace like a couple of the functions he does himself, it's not just like a one person replacement. You have to have like multiple people because they don't have all of the dots connected in your mind like you do for starters, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like so anyway, when we started out, we were doing everything ourselves and it was all us. So obviously lots of hours, lots of risk. Um, and I mean, of course, like early days, like paying mortgage kind of days, right? Like difficult things and taking those risks. And like you said, having this background of a childhood that like you face difficulties like yourself and mine, you know that in life it will pass. It will pass. Like you will get through it. Just stay focused, not necessarily work harder because that doesn't always equal success, but be smart, be strategic, have your vision, have your North Star, like what is the plan, pivot if you need to. And then so we were doing things ourselves. And then I think one of the challenging parts came where we had to really like stop doing so much ourselves, right? Obviously we had to grow our team, we had to invest in our
Yeah.
team. And there's still many things that we do and we have to obviously continuously learn how to like delegate more and more. I mean, we have an amazingly talented team. Um, but I think like, I think something that other landscape company owners can relate to is like when you have to stop doing so much yourself, um, especially the client facing stuff. Sometimes your clients, and we experience this with our legacy clients that, and so many clients today, by the way, that we have that have been with us for a decade. Um, and they watch you and then they're like, oh, like, where's Corey and Anna? They're not sending emails anymore. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
talking with them. And they might feel like maybe we're on the beach hanging out all day, right? Like, why aren't they involved? No, no, actually, it's better for you because we actually have a person who is dedicated to doing this now. And we're doing other things that are focused on your future, not so much like what you need done in 2 hours. And I think different parts in your business, right? Like depending on where you are in the revenue mark. Today, we're serving over the $4 million annual company, landscape company owners. But I think where you are in shaping that and letting it go and trusting your team to do it and managing how your clients feel about that change is a tough one.
It's you. I mean, you described that so well. And my question to you on that is when you were passing those things off and transferring the responsibility to your team, did you feel guilty at all about not being there with them side by side on all the calls and everything?
Oh, I think Corey and I actually felt differently about it.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah,
so
explain it to me.
I don't want to speak totally on his feelings, but I think he felt guilty. You could ask him one day and confirm it, but in terms
I
of like
will.
how I felt like I actually felt like it was obviously so much better for the client, right? Like instead of me spending 3 hours a day on this, now this person can spend so much more time on it. And the client's price isn't necessarily changing. Like they're just getting more and they're getting somebody that's focused on it and then they can respond to your email faster. But to me, I was more concerned about how the client would feel and making sure that they knew that they were getting better. They weren't getting me anymore, or Corey anymore, but they were getting better. And I was obsessed with that and making sure that it actually did. Because sometimes I'll know it's better, but because it's a new person, it may not be executed better because they're new. They
Yeah.
needed time, right? Or maybe you hired the first person to do it wrong, and then you need to replace them, right? And so initially, in every single function that I found that I'm delegating, it takes more effort, more time, more persistence, more quality checking. Like, is it actually being executed better the way that you envisioned it to be better? And then managing the perception of it to be like what it is in reality. That's kind of like where I was focused on, I think.
I think that's a great mindset. And I think it's true. What you're saying is accurate, but we tell ourselves this story that because we're not involved, it's not being done quite as well, which I don't
Yeah.
think is accurate. I think
Yeah.
it's like a false narrative that we create in our head, and then we start feeling guilty and we start feeling anxious about the fact that, hey, I've had this client for 10 years and I worked for them with them day in and day out, and now I pass the relationship off and I feel bad about that. But the way you're framing it I believe it's the correct framing is actually it's better for the client, and you have a team member that now has more ownership and more trust and is going to step up into that position. And it's interesting because like I used to feel I had to be at all these job walks and I had to be here and be
Mhm.
there physically so the client knows I care about them. But what I'm telling my team member is that I don't trust them. I don't trust them with this
Mhm.
relationship. I don't trust them with this client, and I
Well,
need
then
to
how
be
do you
here.
do a great job like that, right?
No one's ever going to want to win and
No.
go all in for you if you show them you don't trust them. Even if you say all day long, I trust you, I believe in you, you're doing
Right.
great. Well, what are you actually saying when you show up to that walk or you come in and close the deal at the last second or something else? So I
Yeah.
really like the framing and the narrative
Yeah.
you put behind that.
But it's a hard balance because you have to trust, but you have to verify,
Yep.
especially in the beginning, right? And it's not like yes, you have free people and you have to trust them, but in the beginning, like you don't know. It's not that they're not a great person or they're not talented. They might be all of those things, but maybe not for the role, right? Like how do you confirm that they are? Like you do have to be with them in the beginning. You do to this day I handle the onboarding for the first couple of weeks for every new person. And I
Yeah.
don't talk about like their function in their specific role so much. I definitely leave it up to their specific boss. But I talk about like our values, which one of them is a client-centered mindset, and then the second one is results. And we talk about our goals. We talk about like how they're going to show up every day and how we show up and what the expectations are. And we talk about company systems and SOPs, things like that, like general
Yeah.
things. Because I think that if you do find out in the beginning that they're not the right fit, there can always be a role change. We've had that. Or maybe it's just the wrong company fit, and that's okay. But yeah, if ultimately it's the right person, like lead them, manage them, but you can still trust them while doing that. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, it's so important to not go full out, hey, I'm going to disconnect as a leader because I quote unquote do trust this person and I'm just going to let them run. You have to have a balance there, and I think that's so well
Yeah.
said. So well
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. And you know what? I think they want it. I think because they need someone to talk to too. Like, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure how many direct reports do you have today?
I have 8 direct reports.
8 direct reports.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, sure, they can talk to each other and I'm sure they do plenty, but they need to brainstorm with you, right? Like and get ideas from you. So they want to have those conversations with you and they want to be challenged and they want you to coach them and train them just like you want to learn continuously and develop yourself. They want that from you too. So, yeah, it's an art. It's an art.
It's a good way to put it.
It's
I
an art.
and a year and a half ago, I had 3 direct reports because I restructured the company and I thought that was going to be the best way. And then I realized like I'm one of the best coaches in the company. And ultimately, as you get higher up in leadership, you go from managing and leading to then coaching. And that
Mm.
coaching element is really an art, like you put it. And it's exciting and fun to see someone and help them go through the process and coach them up to where they can then, take that next step in their career.
Yeah. 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 It
Okay.
is fun.
So I want to get into a few little kind of like tactical marketing stuff if you're good with it.
Okay. Let's do it.
So I think, this is an often a concept that is misread with marketing, which is employee hiring and retention and the role that marketing plays in your people function. Everyone thinks marketing, they think pay for
Mhm.
clicks and getting clients and getting leads, and that's all that marketing is good for. Talk to me a little bit about the other side of marketing where it comes into employee retention and hiring.
Yeah. I mean, so I love this part. I'm very passionate about it. So I think for us as our companies, our agency, but also for our clients, I think that sometimes people can make the mistake of separating those two functions. Like there's marketing, right, and then there's recruiting, but they go so much hand in hand. I mean, great talent wants to work for great companies.
Yeah.
Period, right? So if you want great talent, you have to show up and market yourself as a great company. Now, I mean, what so like I don't think that means I don't believe, and we say it does not mean showing up and saying like you have to work with us because we offer this and we're a great company, and that's not how you would show up for growing your business and attracting like leads, right? Like you wouldn't say we're the best company and this is what we do. Like nobody's going to believe you. You have to prove it by
Yeah.
case studies, with videos, with branding everywhere, right? You're showing up on time, all these different things that you do to attract customers. It's the same idea, the same umbrella of work and guiding principles for recruiting. So we call it recruitment marketing,
Yeah.
and it goes hand in hand, right? So like the work that you show off to attract customers, whether you're growing your commercial side or your residential side, the way that you show up there is the same way that you would show up to attract people. So you have to showcase the great work that you do, the impact that you make. And the other part is, I think that's similar, is you have to do it all the time. So if you're not looking to hire for that position tomorrow, you're still doing recruitment marketing. You don't need that lead tomorrow. You don't have space for that lead tomorrow, but you're still marketing today for that lead tomorrow, right? Like you're not thinking about it when you need it. I mean, depending on where you are in annual revenue, the clients that we serve, they're
Yeah.
thinking about it year round, right? So like recruiting is year round. You are always recruiting. You're always doing some kind of recruitment marketing, whether you know it or not. You're either not attracting the people or you are, all the time.
I think that's so well said. And when I see social media from companies and all it is like beautiful finished projects, I'm like, man, you're missing this like really cool element, which is showing the people doing the
Yeah.
work. And they're like,
Yeah.
well, oh, our clients don't want to see the nitty gritty. I'm like, actually, I kind of think they do. Like
They
I've
do.
thought they do, right? Like I think when you show your people on social media and you're public and visible with your team and your people, you not only build the recruiting and hiring pipeline, but I think you build a ton of trust and authenticity with your
Yeah.
clients as well. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Showcasing your people over just finished projects. You need both,
I
but
think, yeah, I think there's a balance. It's kind of like there was this like a long time thing where I saw a huge focus on look at my new truck. I wrap my truck. Look at my
yeah,
truck. Like
yep,
stop with the truck. That's not marketing. I mean, it is marketing. It's definitely part of the marketing budget. I get it. But like stop putting pictures on social of your truck every day. There was like this thing that was happening in the landscape industry for like 2 years, a few years ago, where everywhere I would turn, I would see wrap trucks everywhere on social. And everybody wanted it like on their homepage. And okay, that's important, but let's actually talk about what you're doing with the work when your truck arrives at the destination, right? Like, okay, let's get
yeah,
there. So it's the same thing, I think, with the people. It's a balance. I think you have to show the people, and you're right. Like, I think that does build I mean, trust and relationships because as a homeowner, right, when you go outside, if it's a design build project or even maintenance, like who's there? Who are these people that are there, right? Like I want to know who these people that are going to be there. Are they gonna like are they going to smoke? Are they going to say hi to me? Are they going to clean up the site? Like are they going to be people that I'm like, oh yeah, my kids are around. When you're doing a design build project, you can be there for months. Like we're going to become
yeah,
family,
yeah.
right? We're going to become family together. I want to know that you are welcome in my house for a drink of water because I trust you. So show the people. Absolutely.
It's such a great point. And what's interesting is this is where I think a lot of people make a mistake is online and they create this beautiful website and beautiful pictures and the truck shows up and that wrap truck on the website isn't the truck that shows up because they only have
Oh,
one wrap truck.
branding. Oh,
Oh, and then the people that show up and work on the backyard aren't wearing the uniforms because, not
oh,
everybody wears the same uniforms and so and they're smoking cigarettes. And so I think when you have a really strong brand, but you don't enforce it globally across your company because, your commercial maintenance team is super locked in, but your design build team is like, well, they're kind of like their own little thing over here. They don't have to follow the rules. Their hats are
yeah.
backwards. They're not wearing safety vests. Um, you damage your brand image so quickly in the customer's view and you immediately lose trust that you built in the sales process that you now have to build back up. right?
Absolutely. Yes, yes. And you know what? The homeowner isn't going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you, oh, well, Joe, the moment where I lost trust for you was when your guy showed up without a uniform. They're not going to pick up on that. That they're not going
Yeah,
to realize that it
subconscious.
was that moment. Like it's a subconscious imprint, right? Like, and you control that. You control that by having that consistency throughout, like through the trucks and through the consistent branding and the uniforms. Yeah.
And that's how we get referrals, which I want to segue that in, which referrals are
Yes.
great. And
Yes.
and most companies can grow to 3, 4, 5 million with referral based work. Okay, you ran out of referrals. Like, can you tell us a story or how you guys go about taking a company from referral based growth to a predictable pipeline of some sort?
Yeah, yeah, I love talking about it. We have quite a few clients that come to us and they're like, "Listen, I've built my business up so far with referrals. That's what's been happening." And sometimes it'll be like a really established company like 5 million plus that's coming to us and has never done marketing. I mean, quite a few have done marketing, but you know, it happens, right?
Yeah.
And first of all, if you're a company that achieved revenue numbers of like, oh my God, like 4, 5, 6, $7 million more with just referrals or whatever you've done without marketing, congratulations. Not only did you make it like in the top 10% of the industry past that revenue mark, but like you did it with referrals I mean, that goes to your people, your craftsmanship or your commitments. If it's maintenance, your reliability, right? Like you
Yeah.
obviously have great operations in place, great systems in place, great foundation. So like, first of all, that's amazing. The trick is like, all right, you've done this with referrals. You've done this reactive business, and I'm going to call it reactive because that's the difference. And and you're shifting into proactive, and that's where marketing is. Um, and I think that referrals should never stop. Obviously, marketing should never replace referrals, right? It's a supplement. But that is the shift when you're going from a referral driven business and you're like, all right, I'm ready for marketing because of my next goals or whatever it is, or maybe it's not working. That's your proactive mindset. And there are things that happen with that. So if you're going into a proactive mindset of operating your business, you are now getting control. You are now
Yeah.
saying, I want visibility. I want visibility into my pipeline. I want visibility into what deals I have, how much revenue I have at every stage in my deal. I have predictability in my growth. And I am looking at like, this is what I have in the next 6 months, in the next 12 months, in the next 24 months, right? You are taking control. You are being proactive as a business owner, operator, from being reactive and just like letting the referrals drive you.
Yeah. And then I love that. And then your clients that you get are just whoever shows up and calls the phone, not the clients you're picking.
Yes, so you get to be more particular perhaps, right? And
Yeah.
and to that point, it's not even maybe the type of clients, but it's also maybe the type of work. Like
Yes.
for example, maybe you want to grow your maintenance division. We have quite a few clients that either coming to us or just changing and they've been with us and they drop maintenance and now they want to bring back maintenance, for example. And it's like, well, how do you grow this new division or this division you've had but hasn't grown because you've only relied on referrals? So you want to be more particular about what divisions you're growing in your company
Yeah.
or a new branch like yourself or branches, right? And you want to focus more energy and money there. You have control. That is what marketing does for you versus referrals. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And so a big topic right now, as we continue to move the conversation, is artificial intelligence and AI.
Oh, yeah.
How people are finding us, searching us. What are we using AI for? So give us a little bit, like, let's break this up into two sections. Let's talk first about AI and how our customers might be using it to find us in AI search.
Mhm.
And then let's talk about AI within our businesses. So AI and search, how is that evolving today versus a few years ago?
Yeah. I mean, okay. So and I've listened to your perspective on AI quite a bit too, because you and I were talking before how I don't come up to podcasts quite a bit too often, and so in preparation for this chat, I was like, oh, okay, what is Justin talking about recently? And I've been hearing about your perspectives on AI, and I couldn't agree with you more that AI is here. It's changing how we work in so many amazing, beneficial, important ways, so timely. It is here. And at Halstead, we recently hired a GEO and SEO director, as part of like what is ingrained in me, like from my childhood, right? Always thinking about different paths and keeping my eyes open, and it may not be the most conventional path, and just being open, right? To like things changing. It would be AI today, or be something else tomorrow. There were many things before being Instagram. Do you remember when Instagram came about and people were like, Facebook's dead, Facebook's dead? It's like,
Yep.
Facebook wasn't dead, and it's still not dead. And it actually brings in a significant volume of demand for our clients and for us, right? To this day. So we are at Halstead putting almost equal balance on our focus in SEO and AI visibility tracking, right? And there's different ways that we're looking at AI, like AI in the business, but also AI for our clients and landscape companies. So, and like we have AI visibility tracking and efforts that we've changed. We're actually doing something a little bit more in depth right now in terms of AI visibility tracking. It's really cool. But so that's how we're approaching it. But so I think the idea of how like AI is impacting landscape company owners is in two ways. One is obviously how they're showing up in results, right? Like people are
Yeah.
asking for suggestions in AI and different AI tools, but they're also customers. And when I say customers, I'm talking residential and commercial, obviously. They're also brainstorming with AI quite a bit, right? And
Yeah.
so the consumer is coming to the table as a lead in a different way. I mean, I know we've been saying they being the consumer and the customer, right? They've been showing up more savvy now for a couple of years. And we used to be like, oh, because they used to do all this Google research, they became more savvy, they know more about maintenance expectations, they know about this or commercial, right? They know all about these things more. Yes, that's still true. But it's not necessarily the information that they have even more access to, it's the speed of information.
Yeah.
And I think the other part of what's, I think, impacting landscape companies is not the marketing or the demand. I think that what we aren't talking about as much is the change to how landscape companies operate and sell
Okay.
to consumers. And so to go deeper in that, we are seeing a change in yourself. You might see it in others, where we are getting accustomed to more so of speed and ease and functionality, right? Like how we work with companies. And I don't know that we're consciously saying it out loud. Like, I want companies to work easier with me because I am just getting so used to everything being easier because of AI. But it's just happening subconsciously. So if a landscape company still has tension in their payment process, oh my goodness, nobody wants to write you a check. Please
No.
stop. Like the day to stop taking checks was years ago, but like now it's definitely that, like that's friction. That's friction, right? Like consumers today want things faster, commercial and residential. They want things faster. They want easier. They have bigger expectations on when you're going to communicate to them and your reliability, because they themselves are doing that with AI help, right? So I think how landscape companies operate and sell is where the change is happening next.
I completely agree. And it's funny, we recently bought a Tesla for one of our team members, and
Nice.
it's awesome, great car, but
Yeah, it
the
is. I love
payment
it.
process, the whole sales process, I never talked to a human. We never looked at a car. It was Apple
Mm.
Pay. Like I was paying for start coffee at Starbucks. I mean, it literally was double
Yeah,
click, face,
yeah.
okay, on the credit card, done, paid, over with.
Done.
Like,
Done.
sure,
Yeah.
like that's our consumer is doing that every day, all day, Amazon,
Yes.
wherever they're at. And then they come up to a landscape company and this huge decision they're going to make. And we have this old school
Oh,
1995 process. So we need to elevate And those who do, this is the exciting part, right? And I think trade stocks is the people, you guys that are listening to this, this is what's exciting is the window is open right now.
Yeah.
Be a differentiator in an industry like landscaping to do this, to offer this. And it's funny because you wouldn't think that having a easy payment method is a differentiator. And if you're a
Oh,
coffee shop, it's not a differentiator, but in landscaping, it still is. So like, how
yeah.
exciting is that for us to be able to actually just like raise the bar and show what we can do and be completely different from an industry that's a bit tech backwards, as I like to say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you can, and you know what's interesting? Like that's now, and some people that are listening are like, oh, maybe I'll do that next year or something else
Yeah,
like that. I have time. No, I think it's going to move really fast, and I think the floor, the bare minimum in the landscape industry in terms of efficiency and communication expectations and just ease of working with different types of customers, I think it's going to rise so quickly that it's going to become like what the bare minimum today is just going to rise so much over the next couple of years. So if you don't do it now and you think like, oh, I'll do it in a year or two, you're gonna like when you do it, it won't even be impactful enough because you're so below the bar, the minimum at that point. So definitely, I think there's a need for looking for those opportunities now.
absolutely. And what's interesting is the shift I'm seeing with our disruptors peer group is we're getting a lot of people joining the peer group who just started a landscape company a few months ago, or they just bought a
Mhm.
small mom and pop
Hey,
company. Like half our members, I would say, were not landscapers 2 years ago. And this is really, really interesting. And what are they doing? They're looking around being like, are you guys don't do this? You guys don't do that? Like, that's
yeah,
crazy because they
yeah,
came from finance or they came
right,
from marketing, and so
yeah,
the action they're taking and like for example, Tyler, big shout out to Tyler in Texas, Austin, Texas. Him and his partner just started this business. It's going great. And they're implementing these things, even though they only have one or two crews going, they're implementing all of what we're talking about at a high level
hmm
and they're going to
hmm
scale. So when you go to get compete, you're going to get out competed by someone who just started their business a few months ago and built all of these systems from the beginning. So acting fast,
yeah,
like now is the window's open, but it is going to close and you're
yeah.
either in or you're out.
Yeah, like change is so important right now. Accepting change, being open, driving it within your company, it is essential. And you know, like you mentioned Tyler and his story. So like there are so many mergers and acquisitions obviously happening in the landscape industry right now. And there are new owners or operators that are coming in with these tech and financial backgrounds that have been ahead of the landscape industry in technology, and even AI and efficiency for so many years, right? And they're coming in and those processes are being implemented. And those are the new competitors, right? For many landscape companies. So yeah, I mean the time is now. And it's exciting. It's exciting because there's an opportunity to kind of like reshape some divisions in your company, team structures, processes. I mean, these are to me, I get very excited about these things.
Me too. Me too. We
Yeah.
could talk all day about this stuff.
Yeah.
I want to start to wrap it up and I want to talk. I mean, I don't want to. I mean, we could talk for hours here, I feel, but
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about, as we start to wrap this up, I just want to learn a little bit more about the future of Halstead, what your guys' vision is, what you're looking to do. You've mentioned a few things about your focus is kind of that 4 or 5 million contractor sizing up, but I just want to give you a chance to kind of talk a little bit about where Halstead is going and where you and Corey are taking the company.
We are going in a place where we are going to take over the landscape marketing industry, and because we are rethinking how marketing serves our clients. It's not marketing, it's a growth system. And
Yes.
we are and our North Star is to continue to help shape the clients that we work with and help them reach their legacy goals. We are I mean what excites me is that we get to work with so many small businesses that that are thinking about what their legacy is, and we have an opportunity to make an impact, right, on so many. And I say businesses because it's not just owners, it's
Yeah.
all of the employees in their company, all of the homes and the businesses that they serve. And our vision is to impact these lives, these businesses, with growth systems that help them reach their goals, reach their legacy goals. And what does that mean? Like, what does that actually feel and sound like? So this is us integrating with their sales system, with their sales tech system. So like, we're working on Aspire and HubSpot integrations, and we're working with connecting that with our lead tracking system and connecting all of these dots. And that's great. That's a foundational thing. But like, how does that impact their sales process, right? Like, where do their salespeople get involved in that? And how does their production management planning get involved in that? And the future of Halstead is being integrated into that and being a part and making an impact, continuing to make an impact, and growing and evolving with our clients and elevating this landscape industry to a new place, to this new place that we are already at and that we're going.
I'm so excited for all of that. And
Yeah.
I I just it's great. We kind of bookend this podcast with this idea of growth systems versus a marketing plan. And
Yeah.
that, if there's any big takeaway for me here, it's that Halstead is building growth systems. And we've made the
Hmm.
argument here where systems are needed to grow.
Yeah.
And that's an exciting, I think, reframe of the marketing perspective that historically we've always looked at marketing and sales. And now we're starting to rename that and reframe that as a growth system.
Yes.
That's awesome. And I love the ambitious mindset that
Yeah.
you guys have around this.
Yeah, and our account managers, we call them project managers, but they're really not. They're marketing advisors, they're marketing strategy advisors, and they love talking about growth and revenue and business impact and evolving the growth system that our client has as their company grows, right? We work with clients often for several years. So every couple of years we're like, all right, well, what's next for you, and what does this mean for your marketing, and how do we evolve this, how do we put this together? Okay, well, you've got a new CRM, let us help you. Or you want a different CRM, okay, let's integrate it. And how are your salespeople responding? Okay, well, we've talked to other clients that have had success doing this. And really, so like, that's our vision, right? But tactically speaking, our project managers are executing on this, as well as the rest of our team that's always behind the scenes. But they're
Yeah.
executing this on how they're showing up to meetings and planning behind the scenes and researching and helping our clients evolve year after year.
And I can speak for that with working with Whitney and Kelsey and
Good.
how
I'm
much
glad.
they're, they're
Yeah.
awesome, and they take the time to
And
understand the vision and the goals that we have, both short term and long term, to
yeah.
kind of craft the plan. And one of the big things we're doing right now is our HubSpot onboarding and integration to really
Yes.
build a more robust CRM. And I just feel like we're really professionalizing our company. And I
Mhm.
I very much call, like, we at K&D, we build in public. So I tell the world what we're doing all the time and why we're doing it and what we're struggling with. And I'm not afraid to admit that a few months ago, our CRM was pretty much non-existent because
Okay.
of kind of how the Aspire CRM is built. But with
Yeah.
HubSpot, the integrations and the automations that you guys are kind of like showing us based on the expertise that Kelsey and Whitney have is so exciting to our team. And so it just, I think when you bring in a partner that has
Mhm.
experience helping companies grow, you get to see things that you would have never seen on your own. And that's the power, I think, of a
Yeah.
partnership with outside partners in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Like, you're tapping into a brain that has seen so much and can leverage case studies. Obviously, confidentiality first. Like, we'll share, like, hey, other clients have done this without sharing names, but you get to
Yeah.
tap into this like beautiful bucket of knowledge and like seeing what worked and what didn't work. And HubSpot is so close to our hearts. Do you know Corey and I went to our first HubSpot conference I think it was like 10 or 11 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, we have always been HubSpot fans. Yeah. Yeah, it's always been our favorite go-to CRM. And we had like an on-off relationship with HubSpot. Like we were on and then we were off and we were like, oh, I think we're too early for the landscape industry. But like it's so good. It's so easy to implement. I mean, easy is debatable. Nothing in the
Yeah.
market that's really good. But like comparably speaking, right? And we had this like on-off relationship, but it is very timely. Yeah. Now.
Exciting. So,
Yeah.
Anna, if people are listening to this and they're like, "Oh, wow, I love what you're saying." How do they get in touch with you? How can they message you to talk more about marketing and growth systems and all things Halstead too?
Well, first off, go to the website, halsteadmedia.com, and there's plenty of things on there. Whether you want to talk with us or you just want to learn, we have a resource hub on there. I think we have like over 500 articles that we regularly share. And the articles we post, obviously, we leverage AI to help us edit, but these articles are written from our team members. And we leverage team members' ideas, processes. Like these are things that you're going to read that are truly valuable. And we've put our stamp of approval on. And I mean, so helpful. There's webinars on there you could watch, recordings. There's a ton of content. We love sharing our insights with the world. We're very transparent with our processes on there. And if you want to get in touch, there's a contact button there. Get in touch. And then obviously you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And then if you have any questions, you could also reach out to Justin White. I'm just kidding.
Anytime. Well, thank you so much for coming on, for being so vulnerable, sharing your entire story. I mean, what an incredible story that you do have, and exciting to be working with you. It's been great to get to know you today, and thank you. Thank you.
Wow, it's been so great to get to know you a little bit more too, Justin. I'm excited to keep the conversation going. And thanks again for having me on.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Trades Talk. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to Trades Talk, where the next generation of disruptors comes to raise the bar. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone in the trades who's ready to level up. For more tools, insights, and community, follow host Justin White and join the movement at jwhitegroup.com.